Why does it feel like some people are magnets for the very personalities that end up causing them the most pain? The terms empath and narcissist are frequently used in modern discourse, but today the focus shifts past the labels. This session explores the mechanisms, the psychological and biological gears that create what experts call the human magnet syndrome. It is often observed that this is not coincidence or simple bad luck. It is a precise interlocking system where one person's emotional openness becomes another person's primary fuel. If you ever wondered why your kindness seems to attract entitled behavior, or why you feel responsible for everyone's emotions but your own, this session is for you. I'm Jaromir. Today we decode the blueprint of the most toxic attraction in human psychology. To understand this attraction, it's necessary to look at the psychological structures involved. In clinical terms, an empath is often described as someone with a highly active mirror neuron system. They don't just observe emotions, they appear to absorb them. This internal world is frequently built on the fixer mentality, the belief that understanding someone's pain is the key to healing it. On the other side exists the narcissistic structure. At its core, psychological theory suggests this is not about self-love, but about inner void. It is characterized by a lack of self-regulation and a constant requirement for external validation, known as the narcissistic supply. Essentially, a constant stream of attention and validation used to sustain their fragile ego. The mechanism is simple. The narcissist projects a false image of a wounded, misunderstood soul. The empath, driven by the biological need to heal, sees this wound as a mission. The empath provides the light, and the narcissist provides the bottomless pit that needs filling. It is a precise yet devastating psychological fit. One of the most significant mechanisms in this relationship is boundary dissolution. In psychology, empaths are often noted for having porous boundaries, struggling to distinguish where their feelings end and another person's begin. Setting a boundary is frequently misinterpreted as an act of cruelty. However, from a narcissistic perspective, boundaries are often viewed as a challenge or a personal insult. Initially, this manifests as extreme intensity, for example, staying up all night talking or moving the relationship forward at the lightning speed. In reality, what is actually happening is a systematic takeover of emotional space. The empath mistakes this lack of boundaries for soulmate level intimacy. They think we are so close, we are the same person, but you aren't the same person. You are being absorbed into their reality to serve their needs. But why is so hard to live? The main difficulty of living such a dynamic is often explained by intermittent reinforcement. At the start, an overwhelming surge of validation is provided by the narcissist, creating a rush of euphoria in the brain. But eventually, a phase of withdrawal begins, where the partner, the narcissist, becomes cold, distant, or critical. The empath's brain immediately goes into repair mode, seeking ways to regain that initial feeling. They think, what did I did wrong? How can I get that feeling back? The narcissist then provides a tiny crumb of affection, a smile, a kind word, and the empath's brain explodes with relief. This is the same neurological mechanism found in cycles of dependency. The unpredictability of the reward makes the bond significantly stronger than if they were nice all the time. It's not love, it's biological dependency on a cycle of pain and relief. If the cycle feels familiar, stay with me, because what comes next is the missing piece for many. It's the reason you feel like you're losing your mind even when you know that you are right. Its mechanism called projective identification. In simple terms, this occurs when an individual cannot process their own negative emotions, like deep shame or insecurity, and instead they subconsciously throw those feelings onto their partner. They may act in ways that force the other person to feel the shame they are avoiding. If one person is being untrustworthy, they may accuse the other of infidelity. Because empaths are emotionally absorbent, they often internalize these feelings. They may begin to believe they are the ones who are unstable or too sensitive. In this scenario, one person becomes a container for the emotional burdens that the other refuses to carry. Finally, there is a narrative trap. Many individuals with high empathy possess a hero complex, taking pride in their ability to endure pain for the sake of love. There is a desire to be the one who finally saves someone. They want to be the one who finally understands the person everyone else gave up on. The narcissist plays the professional victim. Nothing is ever their fault. Their ex was crazy, their boss is unfair, their parents didn't love them enough. This creates a lethal synergy. One person feels obligated to protect the victim, while the other feels entitled to the sacrifice. Being needed is often mistaken for being loved, but in psychology, being needed is a role or job, being loved is a choice. In this dynamic, the empath is an employee who never gets a day off. There is another layer to this trap. This is often the hardest to describe: cognitive dissonance. This is a state of mental discomfort that occurs when a person holds two conflicting beliefs at the same time. In this dynamic, the brain is forced to process two different versions of the same person. Version A is the soulmate, the kind, attentive person from the beginning. Version B is the controller, the person who is called critical, dismissive. Instead of accepting that version B is the true character, the brain often tries to protect itself by making excuses. It tells itself they are only acting this way because they are stressed, or if I can just be more patient, version A will return. In psychology, this is seen as a survival mechanism. The brain chose the lie because the truth is too painful to process. This creates a state of mental fog where the individual loses the ability to trust their own intuition. They start to rely on the partner to tell them what is real and what isn't. This is how the internal compass is broken. Finally, it's essential to understand that this bond is not just in the mind, it is in the body. Research in traumatology suggests that the body stores the stress of the cycles in the nervous system. When a person tries to leave, they don't just feel sad, they often experience physical symptoms. This can include a racing heart, insomnia, or literal aching in the chest. This is because the body has been conditioned to look to the partner as the only source of safety from the very stress that the partner is causing. This is known as a paradoxical biological attachment. The nervous system becomes trapped in a loop. The partner causes the threat and then provides the comfort. Over the time, the body forgets how to find peace on its own. This is why walking away feels like an impossible physical task. It is a process of retraining the entire nervous system to feel safe in silence and solitude. In the modern era, these psychological mechanisms have found a new playground: social media. In psychology, this is increasingly studied as digital narcissism or virtual validation loops. Social media platforms are designed to trigger the same dopamine rewards we discussed earlier. For someone with narcissistic traits, these platforms are a limitless source of supply. They create a curated, idolized version of reality that is designed to be admired, not to be authentic. The empath often falls into the digital mirroring trap. They see the perfect photos, the romantic captions, and the public displays of affection, and they use this digital evidence to override their own painful reality. When the relationship is cold or silent behind closed doors, the empath looks at the partner's social media profile and thinks, but look how happy they seem. Look at the person I fell in love with. That must be the real them. This creates a triple layer of manipulation. First is public love bombing, posting about the partner to gain likes and social approval, which makes the empath feel obligated to stay. Next one is digital triangulation. Here, using social media to make the partner feel insecure by liking an ex photo or following new people, triggering that repair mode we talk about. And the last one, the performance of grief. If the empath tries to leave, the other person may use social media to play the victim publicly, gathering sympathy from friends and family and making the empath feel like the villain. In reality, the digital world acts like a magnifying glass for these toxic cycles. It makes it almost impossible to truly walk away and start healing, because their perfect life is always just one click away on your phone. Recognizing that their online profile is just a tool for the attention and not a reflection of who they really are is a vital step in getting your mind back. Whether it happens on the screen or in person, all these mechanisms lead to the same results: you losing yourself in someone else's void. But understanding the trap is the first step forward, walking out of it. So how do you break the magnetic pull? You have to realize that your empathy is a superpower, but every superpower needs a suit or armor. That armor is called boundaries. You must stop looking at a person's potential and start looking at their patterns. An empath's biggest mistake is falling in love with who someone could be rather than who they actually are. You must learn to tolerate the discomfort of someone being unhappy with you. You must learn that no is a complete sentence. When you start setting boundaries, the narcissist in your life will disappear on their own. Not because you aren't kind, but because you are no longer a viable source of emotional supply. I'm Jaromir. Thank you for joining me in this session. If you found value in decoding these mechanisms, subscribe and share your thoughts below. I will see you in the next session. And subscribe for more psychological breakdowns.